Oh, lost a lot of time there. Really not confident just yet with these new pedals. Okay, not bad, not bad. I'd say for a return after a month and on new pedals. So yeah, I finally got the TLCM that I was talking about, and it's getting a little bit of time to get used to it. As you saw in sector 2 into a scurry, coming out of a scurry, if anything, lost a lot of time there, 2 tenths, yeah, to my PB there. Otherwise it would have easily been a 19.2 over there, but never mind. That aside, skill issues aside, now we are here to talk about the setup. I have a bonus setup at the end. It's sort of the Frankenstein-ish setup that I used to set my PB around here. Again, I like I say always, there's so many variations you can try in the setup, coupled with a little bit of adaptation to your driving style. If you can do that, you can pretty much achieve the same lap times with any setup. Now in time trial, the goal is always to set it as fast as you want, but the setup that I'm going to give you is a race ready setup. As you might have seen, it is a little bit slow on the straight, but it's not that much slower. If anything, in the race condition, this is much more beneficial because with a little bit of downforce, especially on the rear, it helps you to keep the car stable, and you don't lose your back end very easily. Traction zone are going to be much easier to take. You can be a little bit more confident on power as well. Saying that, I did miss a scurry exit pretty badly. So front wing on 5. Front wing is very efficient in this game, guys. You could maybe, if you do some testing around here, 4 clicks of front wing, I would say, is somewhat equivalent to 1.5 to 2 clicks of wing on the rear. The amount of drag that is generated on the front is so low that you can actually go 1-2 clicks high on the front, and you gain so much more downforce on the front, so it helps you with turn in. At the same time, you don't lose too much, barely lose any time on the straights. I know I could go 1-1 and I'll probably regain back the time on the straights, but in the corners I'm going to be losing a lot of efficiency. So this is so much better in a race because, one, you'll be able to follow other drivers easily, which is not the easiest thing to do around here with low downforce. It also helps to look after your front tires and your rear tires a bit more, since you have a bit of downforce. You're not sliding around too much. The car isn't like trying to be on edge of the grip. So 5-1 just nice. You can start with 4-1 in the race, and maybe when you go to the pits, you always want to drop the front wing maybe 1 click if you feel in the current stint the car is starting to feel unstable. Right, if it is starting to feel unstable temporarily, you can increase your brake bias to 52, 53. It will help you out, and increase your differential by 1 or 2 clicks to maybe about 60, 65. That will help you with the instability you have halfway through a stint at the start. All right, come to the pits, drop your wing, and then reduce your brake bias and differential back to the normal level, and you should be good to go. And you can use the same trick towards the end of your second stint. Pretty much that's the way how you do things around in this game, whenever in a 50% or even a 100% race. Transmission. Now let's talk about this. A 55 seems to be the norm pretty much on all tracks. You can go lower, like I've done in the Silverstone video. I've gone like 52, I think. That's because that's a lot of high speed corners, and you need high speed rotation on power as well. So lower will guarantee you get a lot more rotation in the rear and allow you to continuously apply power as you are building up speed, as you're turning into or out of a corner. Okay, like stow, maggots, backwards, those kind of things. Here, there's not really too much need of that. It's more of a quick direction change, like a scurry. You just throw the car into the corner and you get out of the corner. So having a little bit of on throttle maybe will help you to be a bit more stable. 56, 57 is much more stable. 60 is also possible. So through your MFD, it only goes up in increments of 5, remember? So you can always go 55 or 60, whichever you feel more stable. Okay, 52 on the off throttle helps with, again, the rear stability of the car. I've tried 50, 51 in time trial, didn't really gain me anything. If anything, maybe yeah, I could feel the car is more pointy with this. You know, it's much more responsive. It's much easier to throw the car into a corner and it will turn. But the downside is it, you know, when you get tire wear, that kind of movement, sudden change of direction, very quick ones, can cause you to lose control of your car. So, and also having it on 52 prevents the rear locking up too much under braking, especially at turn 1 and turn 3. Suspension geometry, run it the same, right, left, front camber, rear camber, it's always minimum. Front toe and rear toe is always minimum. This is also the lowest drag setup that you can, lowest drag configuration on the suspension geometry that you can do in the game, and for this track also. Okay, maybe one click of rear toe if you really need some stability on the rear, especially out of turn 1 where you will struggle the most. Probably that's the only place you will struggle the most with slow speed acceleration, and yeah, that will help. But if you go too much, it will start to add a lot of understeer in the car. The rear will be planted, but it will not turn enough, so it really is not that worth it to increase your rear toe. Keep it as it is, you'll be fine. Suspension, yeah, the usual. You want to be running kind of low soft suspension setup overall, so that you know, one thing, it's you carry more speed into a corner, you can run less wings with that, and also it's a bit nicer to drive. You know, softer suspension allows you to carry more speed. It's much more responsive, not sluggish at all. So I like to start at 2-1 2-1. Rear suspension and rear anti-roll bar always at 1 to make sure the car is stable. If you go higher on the rear suspension, yeah, sure, maybe you could gain time on corner entries and whatnot, but acceleration, especially out of pretty much any corner, it's going to be a bit more compromised. So keep it at 1 for best traction, acceleration in the game, and smoothness on top of anything. Rear anti-roll bar, you can play around with this again. If you go higher, it will start to allow the rear to, you know, move more. This is helpful, maybe like in high speed corners or even under braking. Allow the rear of your car to rotate a bit more, gives you more entry speed or gain time on entry. But in the race, it's not really that worth it from what I feel. You know, you can try it out, but you may or may not like it. Start off with 2 on the front suspension and anti-roll bar, and then go higher as you need. The golden rule for maybe this track is, if you need more stability under braking in turn 1 and turn 3, the best place to check it out. If you feel like the car is easily snapping, oversteering, the rear comes around on the braking, you can either go up 51, 52 brake bias or increase the front suspension. It will also help you in the high speed corners when you want to throw the car into a corner. If it turns too much, you want it to turn less on entry, basically, you can increase the front suspension. Front anti-roll bar, it really, you feel it, you know, like halfway through the corner on the exit. Suspension, you can feel the effect throughout all kind of corners. But yeah, front anti-roll bar, I use it to you know, gauge how much you know, plantedness, how stable I want the car on power on exit. So best place to check it out is probably a scurry, chicane, and also parabolica. So when you go on power, you know, if you have it too low, the car will turn, the car will rotate, but it will not give you the stability that you need to keep pushing forward and keep putting down the power even more. So I found 4 and 5 was just nice on this track, even in the race sim that I did the other day, a while back, if anything. Yeah, 4 I think is just nice for me around here. So you can go 5, 3-1, 5-1, anything will work in your favor. Right height, 8 on the front. This is to increase a little bit of top speed around here in Monza, because, well, you know, tempo of speed, you need top speed around here. What else, right? It's not Monaco, so yeah. But the downside of going too high on the right height, it is going to increase understeer. So it's pretty much like law of diminishing returns. You know, the higher you go, the more top speed you gain, but as you go higher and higher, it's going to increase understeer as well, because, well, if your front of the car is too high, rear is too low, you are not getting enough front grip, so that is going to be a problem for you. So 8, 7, just nice. Maybe even 9 if you need it. If the car is snappy and oversteery, 9 might help. Okay, on the rear, I found 4 and 5 to be the sweet spot around here. Any lower than that, then the rear, the bottom of your car will be hitting the floor, especially on the straights. as you reach like the top speeds like 300 plus, so you'll start to lose time. If anything, normally you run lower ride height so that you gain time on gain top speed, but if you go too low in any track, it is going to increase, it is going to reduce your top speed. And also in high speed corners, you may lose your car more easily. The good side though of running lower ride height is always that the car feels more planted on acceleration, especially in slow speed. So yeah, you have to find a balance. 5 seems just nice also. So that's why I'll settle. For the rain, you can actually go higher, 2 clicks maybe. It will help your car to brake, will help your car to accelerate smoothly, and also get the car turned in during the wet conditions. And yeah, brakes 150 as usual. You can use 51 or 52 for turn 1 and turn 3. Everywhere else you can always use 1% lower, and the car will be pretty nice to drive here. A good tip to use not only in this track but every other track is if you notice your rear tires are having more tire wear than the front, and then you can, while you're driving, you can push your brake bias, keep it at 51 or 52, so that you preserve the race a bit more. You lose less grip on the rear, you also reduce the amount of load going to the rear, so less temperature, maybe tires may cool down a little bit. Speaking of temperatures, well, tire pressures, you can run pretty high tire pressures here in Monza. Reason is, 1, you have low downforce, 2, it's long straights, and 3, well, I don't have 3, just 2, right? So Monza, well, maybe the third will be, it adds stability to the car with higher tire pressures. And since we already have very little downforce in the car, you need some stability either through the aero or through the mechanical, which is the tires. So yeah, 5 clicks on the front, maximum on the rears. It works just nicely in time trial. In a race condition, not necessarily, unless you're the smoothest person on earth, or you have like super pace advantage over everyone else. You can experiment with this, then you might go for it. But yeah, realistically, you wanna be starting with, I'd say, 2 clicks on the front, and then 5 clicks on the rear, 2 and 5. This will be just nice to use. Maybe 2 and 4, it's a bit more safe to use 2 and 4. And this will be just nice to use in qualifying and also in race. Okay, so having higher tire pressures, like I said, gives you more stability, and you gain some time in high speed corners because there's less scrubbing going on, so it's easier to quickly change direction. The car is more responsive in higher speed. In slow speed, you definitely want it lower so that you get better grip in slow speed corners, but not much here, so you gain more, I'd say, in the high speed corners than you do in slow speed corners with high tire pressures. So yeah, otherwise what I ran in my practice was I think this, yeah, 3 clicks on the front, 8 clicks on the rear. So it worked out for me, but I'd probably go 7 clicks on the rear, just reduce it 1 to be safer. Okay, and yes, that's about it for the setup. Hopefully this does it, and a bit more time to go on the TT. Lost 2 tenths in Ascari, always it's going to happen. That's never perfect. Even the perfect lap was on a different Frankenstein setup, not a race ready setup. So yeah, I'll show you that after this recap. So 5-1 on the wings, you can start with 4, or you keep it at 5 all the way. 55, 52 transmission, right, left geometry. Excuse me. 2-1 suspension, 4-1 anti-roll bar, 8-5 ride height, 150. You can use 51 or 52 brakes for turn 1 and 3. And then tire pressures, you can start off with 5 on the front, maximum on the rear, or you can go safer and start 4 on the rear and then 2 on the front. All right, and you can see from there which temperature range you want to be in. So the golden rule of thumb, I'd say, is you want your tires not to exceed 95, 96 degrees when you are cornering. Once you're out of the corners, you ideally should have 97, 98 at most. Best way to test it is maybe take medium tires or hard tires with full race fuel, and then just go in, put in your laps and see what is the maximum temperature you're reaching. If it's too high, you definitely have to lower your tire pressures. If your tire temperatures are too low, they're sitting around 88, 89, you definitely can afford to increase your tire pressure it will be beneficial in terms of tire wear, also add stability to your car. There you go. For the rain, if it's gonna rain entire race, start till the end, definitely go for higher downforce. I'll say at least 5 clicks on the front and the rear, so something like that. But don't go too high, maybe nothing more than, I'd say 20 combined wing, 25 combined wing. If it's going to be full wet race, yeah, maybe you could go a little bit higher, but nothing more than that. If it's going to be inters and dries, then it is definitely worth it to go a little bit higher. Maybe instead of 5.1 you can do 7.3, something like that will be just nice for the inters and the dries. Okay, so if you're going from inters to dries, maybe you still want to go a little lower, or you can keep to this. And if it's going from dry to wets, dry to inters to wets, or whatever, from no rain to rain, you definitely want to have a setup that is good in the rain. So 7.3, 8.4, 9.5 will be good. All right. And yeah, ERS regen is not an issue around here. If you have DRS and whatnot, it's pretty easy to follow. You can regen ERS. Even without that, you regen quite a lot of battery per lap. Right, that's done. If you want to stop here, you can always stop and go ahead, do whatever you want. And I'll just show you that Frankenstein setup that I had from a month ago, and how I achieved that 19.0. But you know, 19.0 is not really the best time. Still 1 second off the world record. 0 wings, as you'd expect for a Monza setup. 55, 50. So this 50 on the off throttle gives you a bit more looseness in the car, since you know you don't have that much front wing to get the front end turned. I'm relying on the rear to rotate instead and give me the cornering speed I need. Same geometry. Suspension is where it gets very funny. Okay, so 11 on the front and front suspension and anti-roll bar. That's just to keep the front very stable, but at the same time I've increased the rear anti-roll bar all the way up to 8. It gives you so much more movement on the rear. So this setup is the complete opposite of the other setup just now, where that one relied on giving you front end grip, this one relied on rotating the rear. So yeah, different philosophies. You can still achieve the same lap times if you can drive it. Front ride height at 7, because it was a bit more understeery with this setup at the start, so going down to 7 just helped. Same brakes, same tire pressures. So yeah, if you want to try this Frankenstein setup, go ahead. I would not recommend it though, but yeah, stay safe. We'll be back for the next one, and ciao.